We'll continue bioplastic lecture following the first part of this lecture. Let's start with chitin and chitosanes. Chitin is long-chain polymer of N-acetyl D-glucosamine. So what is the chemical structure of N-acetyl D-glucosamine? If you look at these chemical structures, this is an N-acetyl D-glucosamine. If there is 4 linkages, and then you have chitin molecules. The original sources of chitin is the exoskeletons of crustaceans such as crabs here, and there's a lobster and shrimp, and internal shells of cephalopods, including squid and octopus. So chitin is a crystal. Chitin exists in the form of crystalline nanofibers or whiskers. So chitin is translucent, biodegradable, pliable, that means bendable, resilient, and tough. So application of chitosan is very wide. For example, chitosan can be used for food processing agent, an additive to thicken and stabilize foods, and can be made in the form of edible films, and can be used for pharmaceuticals, separation membrane, and ion exchange media, and surgical thread, and can be used for substrate for tissue engineering. Now let's move on to chitosan. Chitosan is a random copolymer composed of D-glucosamine and N-acetyl D-glucosamines. What is chemical structure of D-glucosamines? If you look at this one, this is the D-glucosamine. And what of that one? So you are familiar with these chemical structures. This N-acetyl D-glucosamine is basing unit of chitin. So therefore, so chitosan is random copolymer of D-glucosamine and N-acetyl glucosamines. So this chitosan is produced by deacetylation of chitin using sodium hydroxide. So if you look at this chemical structures, this chemical structure of chitin, and then this chitin is treated with sodium hydroxide and chitin deacetylase, and then this acetyl group is converted to primary amine groups. So some of acetyl group remains in the chitosans, and therefore chitosan is copolymer of D-glucosamine and acetyl D-glucosamines. So the degree of deacetylation in commercial chitosan is range of 60 to 100%. In other words, if degree of deacetylation is 100%, that means so all of acetyl group is converted to primary amine groups. So what about 60% degree of deacetylation, 60% of acetyl group is converted to primary amine group, so the rest of them remains. So the molecular weight of commercially produced chitosan in the range of 300,000 to 1 million grams per mole. So chitosan has high hydrophobicity and high crystallinity, and therefore chitosan is insoluble in water and organic solvent, but they can be soluble in dilute aqueous ester solutions. So if you look at this chemical structure, this is the chitosan. This is chitosan insoluble, but if you add a small amount of acid in solutions, and the solution becomes the low pH, and then this amine is protonated, so this chitosan becomes a cationic polymer. This cationic polymer is soluble in water. Now, see this polycationic biopolymers is one of polyelectrolytes, and therefore chitosan solution in acidic solution exhibit ionic conductivity. In the chitosans, there are intermolecular hydrogen bondings, and therefore the chitosan solution show high viscosity. Chitosan also has very reactive groups for cross-linking and chemical activations. So if you look at this chemical structure, this chitosan has amine group and 2 hydroxyl group. So this amine group and hydroxyl group is very reactive for chemical reagent. So by using these the functional groups, we can modify the chitosan. So by using these reactive groups, we can cross-link. So if chitosan is cross-linked, and then the chitosan becomes hydrogels. What is hydrogel? Hydrogel is cross-linked hydrophilic polymers. So hydrogel can be used for many biomedical applications. So chitosan also exhibit bioadhesive properties. Just as mentioned before, so this chitosan is cationic biopolymer in acidic solutions. And therefore, this chitosan can readily bind to negatively charged surfaces, for example, the cell and the skin, right? And also, chitosan has biocompatibility, and therefore, the chitosan can be used for blood anticoagulant, and chitosan itself absorbs the blood. So chitosan is biodegradable, and therefore, chitosan is the most abundant biodegradable materials in the world. Chitosan exhibit antimicrobial activity such as fungi, bacteria, viruses, and chitosan itself is non-toxic. So, as I mentioned before, chitosan is insoluble in water. Therefore, in order to dissolve the chitosan in water and organic solvent, we may modify the chitosans. So there is many examples of chitosan derivatives. One example is here, O and N carboxymethyl chitosans, so-called the CN chitosan. CN chitosans are synthesized by reacting chitosan with the sodium monochloroacetic acid. The chemical structure here is some sodium monochloroacetic acid in the presence of sodium hydroxide. Now, this hydrogen of amine group is replaced by this the monochloroacetic acid, and you have this type of CN chitosans. Two of hydrogen of amine group is replaced by the carboxymethyl group, and you have this type of CN chitosans. Here again, hydroxyl group can be replaced by the carboxymethyl group, and also here one hydroxyl group is replaced by carboxymethyl group. One hydrogen of amine group is replaced by carboxymethyl groups. Now you have this type of CN chitosan. This type of chitosans are water soluble at even pH higher than 7. And the CN chitosans can be used for vitro diagnosis, bioimaging materials, biosensors, wound healing material, gene therapy, and food technology. So another example of chitosan derivatives is 3-methyl chitosans. 3-methyl chitosans are synthesized by reaction of high degree of deacetylation chitosans with methyl iodide and sodium chloride. Now, first, this chitosan is reacted with this sodium methyl iodide and to form 3-methyl iodide salt form. And when you add the sodium chloride, and this iodide ion is replaced by chlorine ions. And these polymers with degree of substitution higher than 25% are soluble in water. And also, 3-methyl chitosans exhibit suitable fluctuating properties with kaolin dispersions. Also, these 3-methyl chitosans exhibit antistatic properties. So another example of a chitosan derivative is N-methylene phosphonic chitosan, so-called NMPC. These NMPC are synthesized by reacting chitosan with phosphoric acid and formaldehyde. Chemical structure shown here. And this NMPC is very soluble in water. And this NMPC forms a complex with a calcium ion and many transition metal ions such as copper ions and cadmium ions and zinc ions, etc. This complex protects metal surface from collisions. In other words, so this can be used for coating materials of metal. This NMPC is cross-linked with polyethylene glycol aldehyde. The polyethylene glycol aldehyde structure is shown here. just you add this polyethylene glycol into NMPC solutions, the NMPC is cross-linked. And then finally, to form hydrogels. As I mentioned just before, hydrogel is cross-linked the hydrophilic polymers. This hydrogel absorbs a lot of amount of water. Right? So this hydrogel can be used for many medical items. So the chitosan have many applications. For example, chitosan can be used for medicine and pharmacy, such as bandages, hemostatic agent, the wound healing, surgical sutures, drug deliveries, orthopedic materials. They can be used for biomaterials, such as contact lens and tissue adhesive, and treatment of wounds and burns in the form of a membrane, woven fibers, and hydrogels, etc. They can be used for tissue engineering materials in the plant growth enhancer, biopesticide, and also can be used for bioprinting materials to make human organs and tissues. And chitosan can be injection molded. If you look at these figures, the cups and trays can be made of chitosans. So after you use these cups and tray and you discard, and this is biodegradable, and therefore this material is really environmentally friendly. Now, dextran. Dextran is a polysaccharide with a molecular weight higher than 1,000 grams per mole. They have a linear backbone of alpha-linked D-glucopyranosal repeating units. What is the chemical structure of D-glucopyranosal repeating units? So if you look at these figures, 2 glucose units linked 1,6 linkages. This is the Beijing unit of the glucopyranosal repeating unit. Now, if there is only 1,6 linkages, and then the polymer becomes a linear polymer. However, there is 3 linkage here, and then the molecular structure becomes a branched structure. Right? So the stretch chains consist of 1,6 linkages, while branches begin from 1,3 linkages. This dextran is synthesized from sucrose by certain lactic acid bacteria. And dextran is white and tasteless solid, and is soluble in water. So dextran application is very wide. Dextran can be used for microsurgery to decrease the vascular thrombosis, and can be used for other medical uses. Eye drops as lubricant. Now, if you have dry eye problem, and then you need some eye drop, the eye drop made of dextran solutions. So dextran can be used for laboratory uses. For example, such size exclusion chromatography matrices. The trade name is Cepadex. The Cepadex is made of dextrans. And this figure summarizes the application of dextrans. They can be used for food industry and drug delivery and clinical purposes and scientific applications such as the Cepadex. So now let's move on argenic acid. So that is called also arginate because argenic acid exists in the form of salt forms. So arginate is a naturally occurring anionic polymer typically obtained from brown seaweed. The arginate indicates a whole family of linear copolymer containing blocks of manuronic acid and glucuronic acid. What is the chemical structure of manuronic acid and glucuronic acid? If you look at here, this is the residue of manuronic acid. This is the residue of glucuronic acid. So if you compare M with G, in manuronic acid residue, hydroxyl group and carboxylic group position same directions. But in glucuronic acid residue, the hydroxyl group has opposite direction with this the carboxylic groups. So the G block content of commercially available arginate in the range of 14 to 31%. While so G block, chemical structure G block shown here, M block, this is M and G alternate block here. So the difference between these polymers are configuration difference. Only G-block alginate participate in intermolecular cross-linking with divalent cations. In other words, if you add calcium ions in the dextran, so dextran is cross-linked because of two carboxylic acids form the complex with calcium ions. And then finally, they form the hydrogels. The compositions, that is M over G ratio, sequence, and G block length, and molecular weight may affect the physical properties of alginate. So for example, as the length of G block increases, the mechanical properties of alginate gels also increases. The molecular weight of commercially available sodium alginate is in the range of 32,000 to 400,000 grams per mole. Here again, as the molecular weight of alginate increases, physical properties of resultant gel also increases. This alginate is biocompatible because pure alginate does not induce any significant foreign body reactions when implanted into animals. Now, the alginate itself inherently non-degradable in mammals. In other words, in physiological conditions, is not dissolved. So therefore, an approach to make alginate degradable in physiological conditions is partial oxidation of alginate chains. So alginate is typically oxidized with sodium periodate. Here, periodate oxidation cleaves the carbon-carbon bond of cis diol groups, which enables degradation of alginate backbones. Here again, the C bond, right? The diol group here, the C bond is cleaved by sodium periodate. So if you look at here, this is a partially oxidized alginate. In other words, C bond is cleaved to form two aldehyde. And this is called polyaldehyde gluconate. This polyaldehyde gluconate is very important to make hydrogels. In other words, when you add adipic acid hydride, hydrogide, they have two primary amine group here. This amine group react with aldehydes to form SIPS base. Right? Now, if you add adipic acid dehydrogide into the polyaldehyde gluconate solutions, and then the polyaldehyde gluconate becomes cross-linked. Right? So the cross-linked materials becomes hydrogels. So this is a summary of the application of this alginate. So they can be used for the biomedical purposes. So if you have a stomach ache, and then so the stomach ache due to strong acid, and then you need the antacid. So if this antacid is made of dextran, alginate, and can be used for dietary supplement, diet aids, and controlled release and drug release systems, and also can be used for cosmetics. And the alginate can be used for food processing agent. There's bread and onion rings. Here's an ice cream, chicken nuggets, even beer and dressing materials. So this alginate can be used for many applications. Also can be used for other industries, textile industries, and can be used for mold releasing agent, printings and fertilizers, and paint and dye, etc. There's many applications. Now, hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid is a polymer of disaccharides composed of glucuronic acid and N-acetyl glucosamines. So you are familiar with this N-acetyl glucosamines. This is a basic unit of chitin, right? Now, so if you look at these chemical structures, so hyaluronic acid is alternating copolymer of glucuronic acid and N-acetyl glucosamines. So the chemical structure of glucuronic acid is here, And this is chemical structure of N-acetyl-D-glucosamines. The link is 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 3, and 4. Right? So this hyaluronic acid is abbreviated by HA. HA occurs in the salt form because there is a carboxylic acid group, and therefore this exists in the form of salt. This salt form is called hyaluronan. And HA is widely distributed throughout the connective, epithelial, and neural tissues. So high molecular weight of HA is larger than 1 million gram per mole. It's a very high molecular weight. And low molecular weight, so HA is in the range of 0.8 to 8 times 10 to 5 gram per mole. The molecular weight of oligo-HA is less than 6,000 gram per mole. Indeed, an average 70 kilogram person contains 15 gram of hyaluronan in the body. So this HA is synthesized by a class of integral membrane proteins called hyaluronan synthase. Hyaluronan synthase is a type of enzyme. This enzyme repeatedly adds glucuronic acid and N-acetyl-D-glucosamine to the nascent polysaccharides. In the mammals, in the body, human bodies, HA is degraded by 3 types of enzymes, such as hyaluronidase, glucuronidase, and N-acetyl hexasaminidase. This highest, hyaluronidase, cleaves high molecular weight HA into smaller oligosaccharides. So the degradation product of HA, that is oligosaccharides, and very low molecular weight HA exhibit pro-angiogenic properties. These are very important properties. Hyaluronidase lowers the viscosity of HA and therefore the increased tissue permeability. Hyaluronic acid is a major component of synovial fluid. What is the synovial fluid? So if you look at this figure, this is a figure of a normal joint. This is bone here. And cartilage covers the bone. The cartilage is made of soft tissue. And between these two bones, there is a fluid. This is a fluid called synovial fluid. Right? Now, synovial fluid is leaked out, and finally, these cartilages love each other, and finally contact, two bones contact each other, and then you may feel pain on knee joint. Right? So this synovial fluid is made of hyaluronic acid. Right? So another important thing is the HA is an important component of articular cartilage. Here again, this cartilage is made of soft tissues. That is made of, composed of a chondrocyte cell. The hyaluronic acid covers chondrocyte cell to smooth sliding each other. And therefore, HA, hyaluronic acid, is a major component of cartilage. So this HA is a major component of skin involving tissue repair, and also the HA is highly hygroscopic and thus very important for controlling the moisture of tissues and osmotic balance. So the hyaluronic acid has many applications. For example, orthopedic applications to maintain synovial fluid and regeneration of tendons. And also can be used for viscous supplementations to relieve pain by osteoarthritis. In other words, if you have a pain on your knee joint, and then this hyaluronic acid is injected into your knee, and then the injection of hyaluronic acid may relieve the pain on your knee joint. Also can be used for anti-adhesion applications. Particularly, esterified hyaluronic acid is used to prevent bacterial adhesion to dental implants and intraocular lenses and catheters. And this HA also used for ophthalmologists. For example, here again, eye drops. As the same case of dextrans, this can be used for eye drops. In other words, if you have dry eye problems and then you need some eye drop, the eye drop is made of hyaluronic acid. And also can be used for the wound healing applications because of thermal regeneration for wound healing, tissue repair, and soft tissue augmentations. Also can be used for cardiovascular applications. This is a summary of the properties of application of hyaluronic acid. Now, this the collagens. So far, the bioplastics from natural resources are basically carbohydrate. But here, collagen is basically proteins. The collagen is the main structural protein in the extracellular space in the various connective tissues in animal bodies. And collagen is the most abundant protein in mammals, making up from 25% of 35% of whole body. In other words, 25% of 35% of whole body make the proteins in the body. So the collagen has many the various properties. So released collagens can be extracted from bone, and compliant and flexible collagens can be extracted from tendons, and gradient from rigid to compliant can be extracted from cartilage. So depending upon the degree of mineralizations. Collagen is abundant in corneas, in cartilage, bones, blood vessels, gut, in the vertebral discs, and dentin in the teeth. The collagen is mostly found in fibrous tissues, such as tendons, ligaments, and skin in the form of elongated fibrils. The fibroblast is the common cell that produces collagens. So another terminology is gelatin. Gelatin is nothing but irreversibly hydrolyzed collagens. In other words, collagen is hydrolyzed, and then the material is called gelatin. Now, there is many types of collagens. So far, 28 types of collagen have been identified. Among them, the most common types is 5, from the type 1 to type 5. However, over 90% of collagen in the human body is type 1. The type 1 is extracted from skin, tendons, vascular ligatures, organs, and bones. So what is chemical structure of collagens? As I mentioned just before, collagen is a protein, and therefore the protein consists of many amino acids. However, the amino acid composition of collagen is not typical as compared to the most common proteins, particularly with respect to its high hydroxyproline content. In other words, the most common protein does not contain hydroxyproline amino acid. However, this collagen contains a significant amount of the hydroxyproline amino acid. Another feature of collagen is the glycenes. Glycine is found at almost every 3 residues. In other words, 33% of the amino acid in protein is glycines. So protein makes up about 13% of collagens. If you look at these tables, this table shows the average amino acid composition of type 1 collagens. So this 33% of the amino acid is glycines in the collagens, and 13% is prolines, and 11% is alanines, and 10% is hydroxyproteins. So now, what is physical structure? If you look at these figures, this figure shows the standard amino acid of a protein, right? It's a 20 amino acid. Now is a glycine here, and prolines, and alanine, and then hydroxyprotein structure here. These 4 amino acids is a major component of collagens. This is the characteristic property of the collagens as compared to other common proteins. So now what is the physical structure of collagen? As I mentioned just before, collagen exists in the form of fibrous structures. So collagen protein is composed of triple helix, which generally consists of two identical chains and additional chain which differs slightly in its chemical compositions. If you look at this figure, these two collagen molecules as identical. The third collagen molecule has a slightly different in compositions from these two identical collagens. These three collagen molecule has helix structure and intertwined. And therefore, these three collagen molecules form the helix and intertwined to make some microfibril. And several microfibril forms a submicrofibril, and number of subfibrils to forms of fibril, and aggregation of many fibrils make the collagen fibers. This is a hierarchical system of collagen molecules, collagen fibers. So the collagen has many applications. So one of the applications of collagen is skin filler. Now, if you inject the skin filler on the face, and then the collagens remove line and wrinkles on the face. So another application of collagen is wound dressings, because collagen attracts new skin cells to the wound site and promotes the healing and provides a platform for the growth of new tissues. And collagen also can be used for guided tissue regenerations because of collagen-based membranes in periodontal and implant therapy to promote the growth of specific types of cells, and can be used for vascular prosthetics and treatment of osteoarthritis. Here again, if you have knee problems, and then this collagen is injected on the knee, and then the injection of collagen may relieve the pain on your knee joint. Also can be used for skin revitalizations as a form of cream and powders. And this cream, and if you spread the creams and the powders on your face, and then the creams and powders may revitalize the skin. Okay, this is the end of these lectures. So thank you very much for your kind attention.